Hello, everyone. Welcome to Otaku Talk. It's me, your boy, your host, OD, and today we'll be reviewing and analyzing chapter 1066 of One Piece. I've said this I feel like every chapter in the last couple months, but what a fucking time to be a One Piece fan. I can't front. I am having the time of my ever loving life right now. We're getting so much lore. We're getting world building. We're even getting like minor character development here or there, and I am honestly here for it. The story, as it is right now, is at a tremendous point, and it's just at this place where I love One Piece. I love what they're doing. I love what's happening. They've renewed the mystery, the excitement. The pacing is honestly phenomenal. The pacing honestly is a little sketchy. Obviously, we are moving at bullet train speeds. I can't front. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Only time will tell. But literally, if you just think about it, the way that this series has always worked is the pacing has been very steady. It hasn't been super fast. It's always been are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? We'll get there. And that's kind of how this story has been. And honestly, that's kind of how I've liked it. It does suck at times when we get into lulls. It does suck at times where, there's a big mystery that we want revealed. And we know that we're not going to get this mystery resolved for 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000 chapters. But we just know because of the writing and the stuff we're getting in the meantime, it'll all pan out. It'll all work out. But recently we are just getting back to back to back reveals, spoilers, information about the One Piece world and lore and just various things. And honestly, I'm here for it. Anyway, without much further ado, let's get into this review. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, subscribe. Would really appreciate it. All right, everyone. Chapter 1066 of One Piece, The Will of Ohara. Man. I love this chapter for completely different reasons than I loved last chapter, and they're both 10 out of 10 chapters. If you've been with me for a while, you know I hate rating chapters. Ratings are speculative and they're subject to emotion, and maybe you got something out of a chapter that someone else did or didn't. But honestly, both 10 out of 10 chapters for completely different reasons. First off, let's talk about the cover photo. The German 66 return, and we can kind of see all the German 66 Snail Kingdom ship slash, I don't know, whatever you have it, and you can see the Vinsmokes returning along with Caesar Clown. Now, if you look carefully at the flags are what honestly got my attention at first, and then I looked at the buildings themselves, and they have gone through tremendous damage. So I'm very curious to see, what comes of all that, why Oda went out of his way to showcase, what kind of a bad situation that the German kingdom is in at this moment. And I'm very curious as to what science will come out of the combined works of Caesar Clown and I forget Sanji's dad's name, but Sanji's dad, Judge. There we go, Judge Vinsmoke. I'm very excited to see what technology they create, what they do with their clones, and how Caesar helps take that technology to new heights. Also, I'm just going to bring this up real quick just because I've been really curious about it. I have literally not addressed these since he started doing it. I don't know why he's doing them. I don't know if his editors told him, hey, we want you to reach out to the community more, just something like that. But Oda's been doing these little author corner things where he just puts little weird, I don't know what to even call them, just little notes to the fans. And this note today is, let me see if I can find it. This note today, he's talking about he just got an air fryer or something. He got a gas barbecue recently and talking about how he wishes everyone could have it. Bro, I don't care. And that sounds effed up because I love Oda, and I literally If it wasn't a situation where it was like like on the manga itself, I would be super intrigued. But I'm like, whenever I see something from Oda, I just want clues, SBSs, Vivier cards, all that stuff. I just want clues. I just want hits as to what's going on. And honestly, it just seems so kind of weird and out there completely that like part of me is just like, I don't know, Oda is either just bored or he was forced by his editors to like, just put a little like, message here or there, or these are all clues. Like I used to read a lot of books growing up, and part of me wants to like, okay, maybe if I use the third letter of every word, there's a secret. Like I don't know, because One Piece is one of those things that has had so many secrets, has had so many things that Oda likes to like hide in front of your face. So part of me is like, are these all secretly like they all seem like nonsense, but it's actually pure and utter genius? Who the hell knows? But like, I'm paranoid as hell. Anyway, let's finally get into this chapter. So we have the second half of the crew that, Robin, Usopp, Frankie, Sanji, Nami, who are all with the satellites, namely Shaka right now, the main the lead body. And basically he tells them, yeah, he reaffirms that this is an island of the past, not one of the future. Obviously, the Straw Hats are super incredulous. They're like, what are you talking about? How can all this be from the past? And, Vegapunk, the man of science that he is, he goes, well, it's conjecture. It's basically a theory. Like I'm like 90%, 99% sure this is the truth, but I have to let you know I don't have it all figured out because of, the powers that be, aka the world government, the nobles, the what's it called? Not the Tenryubitu, the Gorosei and all that. They have a lot of this under wraps, and he may be a genius, but you can only do so much with limited information, right? And so he tells them that he knew this archaeologist that put his life on the line, to like find out this information, and that anyone that finds out this information is going to be killed by the world government. Once finding that out, immediately Usopp freaks out. He's like, why are you telling us this shit? Stop telling us this shit. And he like pretty much like tries to bash his head into the ground to give himself like a concussion or amnesia so that he forgets. And then meanwhile, Vegapunk just keeps telling them more and more and more information that is going to put them at odds with the world government. But honestly, at this point, doesn't even matter. It's kind of almost ridiculous for Usopp to be freaking out about this, because the fact of the matter is the Straw Hats have been threats for a long ass time now. This is just another tally, another check mark on the list of grievances that the world government is going to have with them. So honestly, world government's gunning for them anyway. World government wants to kill them anyway. So like, this is neither going to like, this isn't really going to hurt them anymore. They're already a Yonko crew, right? So like the world government is already wary of them. The world government is already actively trying to capture them. So this doesn't change anything. Also, I like the fact that, essentially this gives us a little bit more of a rationale as to why the world government has sent CP0 out to kill Vegapunk. It's a little bit confusing because a lot of you might go, well, why now? He's clearly had this information for quite some time now, right? And they could probably guess he's had this information for quite some time now. So why are they acting on it now? And I think it goes back to my original theory that I said like either last chapter or 2 chapters ago, where it's just simply he completed the greatest work for them. I was going to say his greatest work, but it's not his greatest work. It's just it's just the greatest work for the world government. And that's the Seraphim, their ability to, have a powerful force behind, not just the admirals and vice admirals, but the Seraphim that can fulfill the role that the original Shichibukai were doing. They have now, and from what we've seen, they seem as powerful, if not possibly more so than the original Shichibukai. And once again, we've only seen them in their chibi forms, so we haven't seen them fully actualized, fully using their Lunarian DNA. Also, we don't know who has devil fruits and who doesn't, and how well they utilize them, right? And so, Vegapunk decides to tell us a story about how he visited Ohara 22 years ago. And we actually, for the first time ever, get to see what the real Vegapunk looks like. Not gonna lie to you, the way One Piece has gone, it has conditioned me to expect certain things and not to expect certain things. And when we first see Vegapunk and we see that shadow of him, I was like, what the hell? Does this dude have a big ass head or something? Jimmy Neutron looking ass fucker, right? But that shadow told me, okay, cool. Because he's still in shadow form, we're not going to see him for a while. And then literally just a couple pages down, we see the full reveal. And that's just to me is so crazy because that's literally not how the pacing of One Piece has worked. Like literally these last couple chapters, you know, had you told me we were going to see all of the satellites within like 2 chapters, I would have called you crazy. But that's what's happening. We're moving at a completely different pace than we've ever moved before. The rules have changed. It's like you've been playing a game of like basketball, Uno, what have you, for years, and then all of a sudden there's some kind of DLC, some kind of patch update, notice, and they're like, all right, everything you knew, over. These are the new rules now. And that's kind of what's happening. Oh, by the way, quick tangent. You might notice me holding my mic now. In my last couple of videos, for some reason, I'll be talking and then all of a sudden it'll go like, I don't know why it keeps cutting in and out. Maybe sometimes it's not catching me. I put the gain all the way up. Anyway, I'm tired of risking that. I'm tired of losing, quality videos because of stupid issues like that. So I'm holding it today. I do have some kind of mount, but I have no place to mount it. Also, I'm planning on moving soon, so I'll figure all that out anyway. Anyway, tangent over. But yeah, this chapter was full of so many goodies. So yeah, 22 years ago, he visited Ohara. I believe he was 43. So I believe right now he's what, 65? So that's kind of insane. And just like, I know, Egghead, big brain, but this dude literally doesn't have a 5 head, doesn't have a 6 head. This man has like a 10 head. His head almost looks like an upside down ball sack, bro. Like that's how big this shit is. Honestly, I'm very curious. We'll talk about this towards the end about like what he ended up doing with his brain, because as we see at the very end, he looks a little bit different. However, I think it can be inferred that he's still pretty not strong, smart, that he's still pretty smart. So anyway, we find out that the archaeologist that he was really good friends with is none other than Professor Dr. Clover. And I love the character design of young Professor Clover. Like apparently before he became, an old head, just researching and dedicating his life to research and study. Well, he always dedicated his life to research and study, but like when he was also like, trying to discover these books, trying to find all these archaeological, sites and like things to be excavated and these artifacts, and what have you, right? He was a pirate, bro, and he was a trill dude. And so like when we meet Professor Clover, he's got like, his design is like, it's like an upside down Clover. He has the hair up here and then he has the like one loop, the beard is a loop, and then he has a puff here. In his youth, it's all up. I think he has like a beard here and then like a puff here, and then out of here he has like a three clove puff. And like my dude, I love the character design. It's freaking awesome. So anyway, out of respect for him being the greatest archaeologist, the top archaeologist, Vegapunk, the top scientist, decides let me go and just give him flowers. I knew him, I respected him, he was a valuable colleague. This is like the least I can do. So when he goes to visit Clover's grave, to put flowers down, he sees essentially this encasement of, not encasement, but like he sees a bunch of books in a lake. Now, this is One Piece, so immediately I first went, how did the book survive? How did the ink not like melt, like not run, or why did the ink not run, or what have you? But you know what? This is One Piece. Maybe books are more sturdy. Maybe they're not written in traditional ink. Maybe the ink is waterproof, like we learned in Wano. Because it's a lake and not like, a river of fresh ocean water or ocean water, or what have you. Maybe, it was able to preserve it similar to how it preserved, some of the like the runes in Wano, right? I don't know. All I can say is apparently in order to save all the books from the Buster Call, the explosions, the fire, all the archaeologists stayed behind and, took on this brave risk of saving as many books as they can, throwing it into this lake so that they would be preserved and their efforts weren't in vain. Because later on, when Vegapunk comes, he sees a bunch of giants fishing them out the lake. Now, Vegapunk is obviously concerned because he realizes, the great value that books hold and contain. And he's wondering, hey, is it like, a good idea for them to be the ones to get it? However, he runs into none other than Monkey D. Dragon, aka Luffy's dad, who is 33 at this time, right? And he is with the giants, and we find out that the main giant that got the rest of the giants to come and excavate these books was a giant covered in bandages. And in my head, I'm trying to use context clues. I'm like, okay, who could this giant be? Who am I not thinking of? And bruh, it was none other than Jaguar D. Saul. Now, hold up. Wait. I know a lot of you are freaking out. I know a lot of you are like, what the hell? Oda did it again. I know this is going to be one of those things that might divide the community, but honestly, I'm perfectly okay with it. I'm perfectly okay with it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Let me know. It's totally cool if I'm wrong. I'm not an encyclopedia. But the last thing I remember from Jaguar D. Saul was him being, ice world or ice aged by Aokiji, right? And so we've seen before, people can be completely frozen by Aokiji and not die. And so either one of two things has happened. Either conveniently, because of being frozen by Aokiji, that actually ended up saving Jaguar D. Saul's life, or Aokiji intentionally froze that dude. Now, either whatever happened, it's a great choice. But if it's the latter, it would just do so much more for Aokiji's character, the foresight, the planning, and also just the compassion that he has. And that, he is just another example of him helping out when people don't know that he's helping out. Also, you do have to remember that, they were both in the Marines, that, Aokiji really did not want to have to fight Jaguar D. Saul. Like, this was just one of those things where, like, duty versus, like, friendship, and he had to go with duty because, honestly, what's he gonna do? Fight against, like, Aokiji was there during the, sorry, not Aokiji, Akainu was there during the Buster Call, and a bunch of other Vice Admirals were there, so it was a matter of, like, what, is he gonna betray the Marines right there and then have to deal with Akainu that's, like, on the same level as him or better than him, as we found out during that Punk Hazard fight, as well as all the other Vice Admirals and the rest of the Marines that, honestly, he probably doesn't have any qualms or quarrels with. So honestly, he was in a really tight spot. Now, once again, a lot of people gonna get mad, like, oh, I'm tired of Oda bringing back the dead. Honestly, I get it. I'm not mad at you. It's a thing he does. Depending on who you ask, it's more problematic. Some people, it's a big issue. Some people, it's a minor issue. Me, I take each individual death separately and say, like, whether or not I liked it. So we can talk about that later. Maybe I'll do a video on good fake out deaths versus bad fake out deaths. We'll see. But yeah, as we find out, Jaguar D. Saul is alive. One can assume either the explosion or the heat from all the fire and stuff melted, thawed him out, and he was able to escape, right? So that is awesome. And honestly, I cannot wait for the touching reunion that is going to be had between Nico Robin and Jaguar D. Saul. Speaking of that touching reunion, it just really tugged at my heartstrings just to see, Robin, a character that doesn't cry often, that's really, kind of a hard character, kind of, always hides her emotions, to see her break down. It was also super adorable how, like how the rest of the crew was like, how dare you make Robin cry? And, like, even Frankie was the one that actually got me the most, because, he loves Vegapunk, and, like, Vegapunk has, like, constantly, well, not Vegapunk, but, like, the satellites have, like, set them up and, like, attacked them, and, like, wasn't mad during any of that. But, the moment that Robin starts crying because of this, he starts, he throws away that fanboyness for Robin. And honestly, that was adorable. I really like that. So yeah, like, I was already super excited for Elbaf. I didn't need any of this. I really did not need any of this. We already knew Elbaf was going to, teach us about giants. I think it's going to be a phenomenal arc with Usopp. I think we are going to probably learn about Yggdrasil, or more the World Tree. Maybe we might reunite with Dory and Bragi. Maybe we get to meet Loki. Maybe we get to learn more about the lore of Big Mom, and we're gonna see some poneglyphs. We're gonna see maybe the new, like, there was already so much to look forward to in Elbaf, and now we get the added bonus of now Robin is gonna have a chance to read some of these books that survived Ohara, the place that she thought every trace of was gone. She's going to get to reunite with Jaguar D Saul, and we're just gonna get even more exposition, even more lore. I am so hyped. This is probably going to end up being one of my favorite mini arcs of all time. For those of you that know me, this isn't a criticism of post time skip One Piece in the slightest, but I have always been partial to pre time skip. All my favorite arcs are pre time skip, but I think for right as of this moment, as far as mini arcs go, this right here is a deadlock. It has just been hit after hit after hit. Oda cannot miss, and I am super here for it. Something I really, really liked in this chapter was when Frankie asks the important questions, and he's like, why did you why did you experiment on Kuma? Why did you do all these things? Why did he help us? Blah, 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 blah. And honestly, it was too good to be true for that to be revealed this chapter, but I'm glad those questions are being asked. That's Oda being cognizant of the fact that that's a question, and that's a question and answer that we all desperately want to know. So I'm hoping that gets addressed next chapter. Normally, I wouldn't expect it, but with the rate of information that's been hitting us recently, I don't know. I'm a little entitled now. I don't know. I'm feeling it. So anyway, that pretty much ends that. So we find out the last part I'll talk about is we found out that Vegapunk and Dragon have a really good relationship, and also the events of Ohara are what inspired and spurred him to start the Revolutionary Army. Originally he was just a simple freedom fighter, but that injustice, that disgusting, just that genocide, if you will, is what really got him to kick things into gear. And along with Ivankov and Kuma, he started the Revolutionary Army literally a year later. That's how motivated he was because of that. Also, there seems to be some kind of a little bit of bittersweet feelings between Vegapunk and Dragon, simply because Dragon asked Vegapunk to join the Revolutionaries, and unfortunately Vegapunk didn't join, and it was just simply a matter of funding. It sucks to be like this, and this is just a common trope in literally everything I have ever seen ever. But literally, scientists want a science. That's just what scientists do, and there are bad scientists, there are good scientists, but a common trope is, and it's we were told with Tom, it's not about what your inventions aren't bad or aren't weapons. It's how you use them. And I feel that's kind of the take Vegapunk has, right? It's I know I'm working for bad people, but I can still do good. I can still make good things. I can still make great things. And it's both a selfishness thing because, he wants to science, but it can also be a humanitarian thing because, along the way, for all the bad things that he's going to create and research for the Marines, there's going to be a lot of good. So I don't know. I feel that's a cop out. I feel if in our society, some really smart dude goes and works for some really, really bad people, we're going to say that scientist fucking sucks. But I don't know. This is One Piece. I know that things are more than what meets the eye, but I can sympathize with where Vegapunk is coming from. He's been complaining nonstop. I talked about this last review. He's been complaining nonstop about funding, and that's from the world government, the people that would have the most funds for him. So can you imagine if he worked for the freedom fighters, the access to information would be limited, the access to funds would be limited, the access to various islands and architectural sites would be limited. So he kind of made a good choice, and it seems like he's relaying information back to Dragon. So honestly, at the end of the day, this may have been more beneficial. By the way, as I was talking, I just remembered earlier he was talking about the ancient history, and something I found super interesting was apparently 20 nations allied to go against the ancient kingdom, right? And my question is, well, what we're told is that the originators of the ancient kingdom, that the originators of the world government, the 20 alliance members, are the winners of whatever happened back then. And my thing is, what could the ancient kingdom have been doing that caused these nations to ally and revolt against them? Because one would think this new world government that we have, that's so anti-freedom, that's so like order and like hierarchy and stuff, right? That kind of makes me feel like the ancient kingdom would be pro freedom. And for me, it's like, why would you rebel against that? Why would that be a bad thing, right? So once again, it goes back to that. It's just conjecture. We're missing pieces to the puzzle, and I'm super curious because literally, like, what would motivate like 20 nations of people to go against an entire kingdom? It makes sense why everyone is against the world government, like all the atrocities they commit. But like, if the ancient kingdom was the one that stood for freedom, what could they have been doing that so adamantly like made these 20 nations revolt? I don't know. Like I said, we're missing pieces of the puzzle, so we'll find out later. Anyway, end of the chapter, we meet the actual Dr. Vegapunk. So we see this thing protruding from like the chest or the center of the robot that we saw, or mech or whatever have you, last chapter, right? And then the robot starts reacting or acting up, and then we start hearing, Dr. Vegapunk speaking, be like, oh, there must have been some problem with the warp, space, time, blah 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 blah. And so Luffy comes over and he's trying to like help pull him out of this robot, and then he eventually pulls him out, and we meet Dr. Vegapunk. However, he looks not a lot. He looks very different than he did, 22 years ago when he had that massive like 10 head. Now, like all that mass is gone. He's Jimmy Neutron no more, and his brain has been not brain, but like the top of his head has been replaced with like an apple. Also, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I think the obvious and clear inspiration for Vegapunk is none other than Einstein, with the crazy hair, big brain, and then you had the tongue sticking out, right? So great job, Oda, on the design. Honestly, I love the designs this entire mini arc. Things are just Oda's having a great time, and you can just feel it through the pages. Oh, definitely something I wanted to mention while I was recording. The reduction in Vegapunk's like brain mass or brain matter is definitely definitely attributed to the satellites. I don't care. Either he physically like surgically like divvied up parts of his brain to these satellites, or I'm thinking it's more so some one PC science shit where he like was able to like digitally digitize his like brain matter, his memories and whatnot into the satellites, right? I think it's more along that aspect, especially when we have satellites like York that that carries out the entire digestive, excretory, and like I forget what other system there is, but yeah, I definitely think there's something related there. Anyway, Luffy is excited to meet him. He sees this dude and he's just excited. Bonnie is obviously like not with the shits. She's angry with him. This is the dude that, after all, essentially killed her father. So she's not having a good time. Vegapunk is kind of superfluous. He says Quasar after all his senses, so that's something very interesting. Um, he immediately recognizes Luffy as Dragon's son, and he immediately recognizes Bonnie, but for some reason, I guess just isn't reading the atmosphere and doesn't get that she's mad. Luffy doesn't care about any of that. He's just impressed that Vegapunk is floating, and Vegapunk's like, "You can float too. Just press this button here and pull this lever." And then the chapter ends with them accidentally, I guess, setting the hover float, the hover setting the hover setting too high, and now they're like blasting away. So I think this would be a great opportunity for them to blast away to wherever location that the rest of the crew is. We join up and then we get more info lured up. But it's totally cool if they stay separated and we learn more individually. Anyway, great chapter. I'm so excited to see what Oda has in store for us next. I don't know, man. I said it at the beginning of the video. What a great time. What a great time to be a One Piece fan. Anyway, I don't have anything to say right now. I'll probably think of a lot more while I'm editing, but let's leave it at there for today. But please let me know what you thought about the chapter. Let me know where you think the story is going to go next. Let me know what you think is going to be added on to the Elbaf arc after all this information is, dropped. Let me know if there's anything I missed, because I have this sinking feeling that there was like something major that was dropped that I didn't discuss in this review. So please let me know. Anyway, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. This has been Otaku Talk. I'm your host, OD. Have a great night. Take care. Peace.